Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be diving into the short-term Bitcoin chart, and then we're going to be taking a look and seeing exactly where I think the market is going to be headed. Is this going to be the next move before we start breaking out and making another new all-time high, or are we going to see some more consolidation before that takes place? During this period of time, we've seen a number of different altcoins taking off, and so today I also wanted to share with you guys 10 of my favorite altcoins I've talked about a lot on this channel, some of them in recent videos, and then we're going to be doing an updated analysis so that we know exactly where these things are headed over the next couple months. If you're new and just finding the channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server of over 21,000 members and growing. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for the people that want to sign up. On top of that, if you're new, just getting into these markets and you want extra educational content on how to be more profitable, links are also provided for you in the description to go ahead and download my free ebook and Beginner's Guide to Crypto. So check it out. Links are going to be provided for you in the description. And with that being said, guys, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so we can't start off with some analysis on the crypto markets without first starting off with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be the leader of value, and it's important that we understand what happens with Bitcoin so that we can have a full around picture on what's going to happen with the rest of the market. Now, as you guys already know, Bitcoin did for a short period of while make a new all-time high. We can see that we barely peaked above the last one, but then immediately after hitting that all-time high, we immediately sold back down. Now, here's the thing that I'm personally watching for. Now, let's remove this previous all-time high and let's talk about this green line here. Now at about 58,800 approximately, we've got this level that has been a very important level for us to analyze. You know, over the last 6 months, we saw that this was a major resistance point when Bitcoin ended up topping right around 65,000. We had the short-term peak above it, but every other point of contact pretty much ended up in a rejection off of this level. And we can see that it acted as our most important area of resistance inside of this entire top consolidation that we saw back in around last summer, right? Now, the thing that we understand today is that we have actually broken back above this level. We can see the green line here. We actually did break back above this level, and we have, for the short term at least, retested this level as support. And so as it stands right now, this to me just looks like a support and resistance flip. This green line was our resistance. We broke above that, and now this was us flipping it as support. So we could have a little bit of consolidation in here. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more before we break up. But to be quite honest, guys, I think that this is ultimately just going to see us get continuation. And so it's not very important what happens in the short term. What we know is going to end up happening is that this was a successful breakout of the all-time high. This was a successful retest of that all-time high, and now we should see continuation from that point. This is why I do believe that we're going to start seeing Bitcoin rallying upwards of 90,000 and most likely towards $100,000 per Bitcoin inside of this next move. This is really one where a lot of people are watching. They've been wondering what the heck's going to happen with Bitcoin, and now that they have actually seen it make a new all-time high, we're seeing a lot of these other meme coins taking off. We've seen Shiba Inu doing really well. I think that ultimately now this is where a lot more confidence steps into the market, and this is where we do see a much, much bigger rally on the upside. So my targets over the next month is going to be $90,000 to $100,000 per Bitcoin. I think things are going to start heating up really quickly, and we should start seeing Bitcoin rally up towards $100,000 per coin. You know, that's the big level for Bitcoin in this cycle. It's a big psychological level. My guess is once we start hitting that, after that point is where we're going to get a quick impulse upwards of 250,000, because once we can clear 100,000, I think that the retail investors, and not just retail, but everybody as a whole, is going to look at that as being some major hurdle that we have all passed. You know, 100K per Bitcoin was something that people were calling back for all the way back in 2017, back when Bitcoin topped at $20,000. And so for us to actually hit that break above it in this cycle, I think that that's really going to set a major precedent for a lot more price appreciation to come, because that's when people are going to get way optimistic. That's when we're going to see a lot of FOMO step into the market. And then, you know, 250K per Bitcoin won't be far off. Now, guys, let's dive into the favorite altcoins on today's list today. And first one on today's list is going to be Atom or Cosmos. Now, this is one I talked about a little bit on the channel. I talked about this one, you know, all the way over to here. And then during this initial sell-off, I actually accumulated some more inside the Discord and then updated you guys on YouTube over here at about $14.50. And so this was one that I did actually accumulate inside of this recent correction that we saw. I bought all of mine on this original leg down that we saw right here. And I ended up buying at about $12.50. So it was about right here. Not the exact bottom, but it was close enough that I was happy with that entry. Now, it's actually been one of my better returning alts, as after we ended up bottoming, this one has had one of the bigger impulses off of the lows. And I believe that right now where we're at is still a relatively good time. I mean, what we've seen thus far, we retested the previous resistance. This was the entire accumulation range that we were in for a couple years. We broke above that in the recent sell-off that we saw inside of the market. We ended up retesting that as support. I jumped in, and now this is us actually breaking out of the previous all-time highs and then retesting those as support as well. And so I actually think that where we're at today, Atom's going to see a big rise in price, because when we analyze the basic Elliott wave theory rules, we can see that this entire move from accumulation back to our recent sell-off was only wave 1. So we're still working on wave 3, and then even after that, we're still going to have, you know, a wave 5 at some point. I don't know exactly how high it's going to go. My guess is we will easily see $100 Atom by the end of this cycle. I think that that's going to be a really easy target to hit, because in this second 3 wave that we're seeing here, this entire move down here was only wave 1. So if wave 1 is already this big, I expect that inside of wave 3, we will probably see $100. So just inside of wave 3, we'll probably end up seeing $100 per Cosmos, get a little pullback, and then we should still see a wave 5. So my guess is we'll end up being over $100 by the end of this cycle. You know, the way that the Fibonacci relationships are tying up together with the actual Elliott waves, we have to go to at least $88 for this 3 wave to even, you know, for this next wave 3 of 3 to even be the same size as wave 1. So, I mean, honestly, guys, we're looking at over $100 per Atom inside of this next wave 3. Based off of wave 1 being pretty slow, not much going on, I think that this wave 3 is showing the early signs of a pretty massive move coming. I know that these guys have a lot of airdrops. It's a pretty massive ecosystem. A lot of cryptos are built on this. A lot of cryptos are partnered with Atom. And so I think that this one's been one of those layers that has kind of been lagging this cycle. You know, but it solves a lot of the problems of Ethereum, and so I do believe that we will see this thing's turn to shine, and we kind of have already seen that. Now that we've already broken out of the previous all-time high, this next impulse is going to happen very quickly. These are the times that I don't think are bad for low leverage long positions if you can find a good place to leverage trade them. Because they have a lot of volume coming in here. They've just flipped a major level. We can already see buyers stepping in. My guess is that this is a pretty easy trade and it ends up going up pretty quick without any major pullbacks. And so this is one I think we should watch on our radar. I know I've updated a lot on this channel, so I wanted to give you guys another update just to kind of base off of what I've seen, what we've seen thus far, and why we ended up taking the positions to begin with. Now, if we jump back into another one of my favorite charts, this one's actually going to be Sushi Swap. I recently talked about Sushi Swap on this channel. I said that it was a good buy back down in here, and so we were actually seeing a little bit of profit from that point. This is one that I've been accumulating a lot of. I started accumulating this one down here at about $8, so about right there is when I first started accumulating this one, and I technically have buys that I bought all the way back down in here at $2. But most recently, I started accumulating this one at about $8, and then I bought a little bit more over here at somewhere around $10. And so I've just been kind of averaging all the way down throughout this dip, because this is one of my favorite looking setups in the altcoins. My main reason for liking this so much is because this entire cycle is just a one wave. And so we're getting ready for a bigger picture 3 and 5. My guess is it's pretty easy to tell from this end at least that if we're only getting ready for wave 3, we should see this at over $100. I really think that we're going to end up seeing this at over $100 before the end of the cycle, and we should see this next impulse getting very, very, very parabolic quickly. Now, don't look at the time frames, because the time frames aren't going to be right. I'm just mapping out what I see on the bigger pictures. We're only getting ready for wave 3, and so wave 3 is the biggest, most parabolic one. Based off of how this chart looks, I think we'll get a massive, massive move that comes in here. It's going to be super, super parabolic, guys. That's about the most I can explain to you. Anytime you're getting ready for a wave 3, and it's the same way with Cosmos even. I mean, Cosmos is just beginning its wave 3. This was wave 1 of 3, and we can already see that this wave 1 of 3 is very, very quick parabolic move. And so where we're at with Sushi Swap is pretty much the exact same thing today. We're getting ready for wave 3. We've already put in our first little impulse right here. We can see a lot of new volume that's came in here. Consolidation that's been sideways for the last month. Now that we're getting this green candle, you know, we're going to watch and see how that closes on the daily, but I do believe that we're going to start seeing this thing take off a lot, especially as all the other markets are breaking out, making new all-time highs. Bitcoin flipped its all-time high. Ethereum's in its new all-time high, making its way into price discovery. With that being said, we're seeing other altcoins doing the same thing. Shiba Inu. It's only a matter of time before all these other cryptos end up doing the exact same thing. So if you've seen a lot of cryptos that have made, you know, big pumps like this, and they're just kind of consolidating, waiting to go higher, this one's going to end up doing the same thing. It'll break up, it'll flip this level here, and then it'll keep going up like that. It'll happen quick, it'll happen sudden, and most people won't expect it to happen in the way it will. But I'm telling you guys right now, Sushi Swap is a leader with their NFT marketplace coming out. I think it's a pretty safe bet that we see a lot of price returns on the upside coming into the end of this year for this specific market. So let's actually talk about Aave next, because Aave is one of my favorite DeFi charts. It's been one of my favorite DeFi plays for a long period of time. I think this one's going to end up performing similar to Sushi Swap. We should see those two kind of rise together in tandem because they're both part of DeFi. Now, I love this chart because the risk to reward right now for Aave is exceptional. We can see that this has been such an important level between resistance and support. We saw that it was support for a long period of time before we ended up getting that final correction most recently when Bitcoin dropped to 29,000. We ended up dropping out of this support level, but we ended up coming right back and flipping it again. So we can see that we've just hovered right around this exact same green line for the last 6 to 8 months. We've just been going sideways here, but we're pretty much right back on that green line, which tells me that it's actually a good opportunity to get back in. According to this green line, we've seen a lot of either bounces on the upside, or we've only seen a handful of rejections. There's only been a couple rejections and us falling below. But every time we fell below, we immediately get back above it. So right now where we're at, I think the risk to reward is great. We should see something like Sushi Swap just did, where we get a nice green candle that comes in here. My guess is we end up seeing this breakout, something like this, pull back, and then we'll get continuation. Kind of like what Cosmos did to its all-time high. This type of a move, but for Aave, it would be like this, right? So that's kind of what I'm watching for Aave, but this is going to take us into a massive parabolic move. I personally see Aave being valued at over $2,000 each. It's one of the biggest leaders of DeFi. We will see this thing take off once DeFi as a whole takes off, which it's about to be breaking its all-time highs as well. And so getting well-positioned investments right at their support levels, right at these major levels that they've shown, you know, major history towards staying above. We can see that we've stayed above this level for a long time. The fact that we're right on it, I don't think you can get a better risk to reward. And so I'm actually holding Sushi, and I'm looking for about $2,000 for the end of this year. Now, next up on the list today is going to be Anchor. Now, Anchor is one of my favorite holds. I've been holding this one since literally the bottom all the way back down in here. I've been holding my Anchor, and I bought more throughout each one of these dips. I've taken profits on the highs, but this has been one of my most profitable holds, of course, over the cycle. But I still think it's a pretty good setup for the end of the year. And I recently talked about this one when we were back down in here, and I said it was a good buy. I said that this was going to go up a lot higher. And sure enough, that's exactly what we're seeing thus far. Now, it's actually had a big breakout, but we're still just right at that main consolidation point. We haven't broken out from that. And so I still think it's a good undervalued buy. Where we're at today, if we draw a line, we broke out of this resistance here. We can see all these wicks that have reacted to this level. This was deviation. But we can see that we actually broke above this, and then this wick right in here on the shorter time frames that we see in this candle, it's actually us retesting the previous highs as support. And so I do believe we're going to get to continuation. This thing's going to fly a lot. We're already seeing the early signs of this breakout, pretty much just showing the way of new all-time highs. And so this is one that I've always liked, just for the simple fact it's an easier one to trade. When I first started buying it, it wasn't so much, but I saw the really easy to identify Elliott wave structure here. And what we can see here that has formed thus far is your classic 1, 3, and we're working on wave 5 of this impulse. So this should be our last impulse of this cycle. I think that we could see this thing rally all the way upwards of $1 plus, which from where we're at today is going to be looking like a pretty solid return. You know, about 8x approximately, a little less than that, but it could go much higher than that. It's hard to say when it comes to analyzing these Elliott waves, especially coming into the final blow off top. I mean, this looks pretty reasonable to me. That would be a pretty massive move for this thing to close out the end of the year, but I just think that that's ultimately what's going to happen. We've had two nice impulses thus far. Very easy to identify Elliott wave structure. When you have that clear of Elliott waves, I like to take the trade just because it's an easier one to follow off of. We know that this one's getting one more big impulse still to come. So, I mean, why not make a little bit of profit on the way up? This is one I've already made a lot of money off of. I'm still just holding. I've updated you guys on this channel with this crypto all the way since the bottom was when I first gave the signal on this YouTube channel. And so I would expect that it's going to keep going up. Wanted to give you guys another quick update with that. Now, for next up on the list, we actually have another meme token, first meme token of today, and this is one I recently just gave you guys in a previous video. I gave you guys this one as an opportunity to get in when we were all the way back down in here. I said that this one was going to be a good opportunity because this one is part of the Shiba Inu ecosystem. So we've seen how well Shiba's doing. Shiba's doing phenomenally well, and I ended up looking at their website, found two other cryptos that you can buy, and this one was one of them. I saw the chart. I knew that this one was going to do really well, and so I wanted to give you guys the updated signal, which I did on YouTube a couple days ago. From that point, it's only gone up. We've had a nice impulse. We're approaching our first major resistance level, which we could see a little bit of a pullback here. We could see it pull back like that and keep going up. Either way, it doesn't matter because I do believe we're going to see this thing break out and make a massive new all-time high. Lots of new volumes came in here. It came in right after a major ABC correction. We got our finished and completed ABC in that cycle. Right after the bottom of that ABC, we get our first impulse here. And so we've had wave 1. In my opinion, we should continue to see wave 3 go up. You know, whether we get a short-term pullback or not, it really doesn't matter. I think this thing's going to rally all the way up to 6,500. Flip this B leg, and then that's what's going to take us into new all-time highs. We should see something like this we should see something along the lines of this play out as we continue to see Shiba Inu take off. Because really, the value of this is going to be all around the meme tokens. If Shiba's doing well, obviously we know Doge Killer is going to do really well, which Shiba has done really well. My guess is we see Shiba Inu finish the top of its move, start topping out, and then Doge Killer itself should have a massive, massive move as money begins to exit Shiba and trickle back down into the other ecosystem projects. And we can already see that that's playing out. As people are getting confident inside of Shiba, we're seeing Doge Killer taking off, and we're going to continue to see these parities play off from here. And so I think that this one's just, you know, pretty much the beginning stages. We're starting to get out of the lower end of the market cycle. We're starting to get into this midway point, hitting resistance. So it's not the greatest time to buy, but we should continue to still see this thing break out and go very parabolic. I think it's going to do well. So regardless, it's still pretty undervalued where we're going to be at the end of the year. And so you guys should continue to watch out for Doge Killer now that we've been breaking out. Now, next up on the list today is going to be Skel Network. Now, Skel is another one of my favorite long-term holds, mainly just because I made a lot of money off of it. I actually got into this one in the ICO, first ICO I ever participated in. So my entry down here was at like 5 cents. So I've already made a pretty solid amount of profit off of this one. I haven't taken any profits. I'm still holding all of my initial bags, but I do love this project because basically it's just going to be a layer 3 solution for Ethereum. It helps with the gas fees, things like that. We've seen how well Phantom's done. We've seen how well Matic's done. We've seen how well some of these other layer 3 solutions have done. So I think that this one, you know, is right there in its place for getting that same type of major run. And the way that the chart looks itself is phenomenal to me. What we've seen thus far is we had this descending resistance after our first major impulse. We broke from that, and so this move outside of here is actually us just flipping the previous accumulation range, right? This was capitulation. We rallied up, flipped this as support. We've kind of just been bouncing. My guess is we end up seeing a nice green candle that comes in here pretty soon as we start to break out and go higher up. But the reason I like this chart so much is because this itself is still a very undervalued cycle. You know, we've only ever had wave 1, which you can't see the all low down here. Technically, this would wick below. We saw wave 1, we saw wave 3, and we saw wave 5, followed by an ABC correction. So this entire move is just a completed one wave. And so now that we're at the early stages of this accumulation, this is the disbelief phase, we're going to see this thing break out and start going up really quickly. And so I did want to give you guys an opportunity to jump into this. I talked about this one just recently when it was back down in here. So we're fairly close to that same exact point. But with this being a one wave and with this having good volume, a lot of good partnerships, I think that this one's going to take off and it's going to happen really quickly going into wave 3. So watch out for Skel Network. Now, next up on the list today is going to be Rarible. Rarible is one I talked about a lot, especially when we were back down in here before this impulse. we had a pretty nasty sell-off. In fact, we went almost all the way back down to that entry price. But in this time of consolidation, we're going to see massive moves up and down in price. That's just the way it goes. But this chart is still looking very, very strong. We saw our original market cycle. I bought my first Rarible back down here, back in about $2 per Rarible. And then I accumulated some more on this original dip right here. So my bags are packed. I'm not personally buying anymore, but I still think it's a really undervalued time. We can see that from this original crash down, we had an impulse here, we had another sell-off, and then we've got another impulse just after that point too. And so we're seeing stacking impulses. We had an impulse here, and now we're getting stacking impulses within this one right here. And so this tells me that this is an undervalued cycle. We've only seen the first impulse, and we've only seen wave 1 of 3. And so these are sub-waves of wave 3 of 3 that I do believe is going to see us have just pretty much a massive breakout. With Coinbase actually coming out and releasing, and has plans to release soon, their NFT platform and their marketplace, I think that that is going to bode well for all of these NFT projects that actually have a token attached. So Rarible is obviously an NFT marketplace. It's basically OpenSea, just a little bit worse, and it actually has its own token attached to that. So that's why I've been a big buyer of Rarible for so long. I've always foresaw that NFTs were going to be hyped. Then NFTs blew up, and when NFTs blew up, you know, it mainly happened around OpenSea and not so much Rarible, but Rarible is the only one with a token attached to it. So I continue to buy Rarible. I still think that this one's an excellent project to hold by the end of the year. And with all of this news around NFTs, especially with Coinbase coming out and actually saying that they're starting their own marketplace, this is going to do really well for Rarible. And that's actually why we saw this big pump right here. That was because of the Coinbase news. And so where we're at today, if we go to the all-time highs, you're looking at 1.3x. I think that this one's going to do phenomenally well. We'll see Rarible above $100 each. You know, my guess is we should see this one at about $200 plus. But we're going to watch and see. Either way, I'm still holding this one. I know that a lot of you guys are as well from my recent video that I made when it was back down in here. So I'm going to keep you guys updated once we get a nice break above the all-time highs. But keep watching out for this one because one's about to happen very soon. Now, next up is going to be DeFi Money, or DFI.money. Now, this is one I've been holding for such a long period of time. I've been holding this one all the way since over here, and I've just kind of consistently held it over the last year, pretty close to a year now that I've been holding this. And so now that we're at this point, guys, we've actually seen a breakout from this accumulation range. So as you guys can tell here, this was our first impulse. We saw wave 1, we saw wave 3, wave 5, and then an A, B, C. So this was just a one-wave impulse. But what happened after that is literally just sideways accumulation of the worst degree. If you're a holder, you hate holding through all of this stuff because it's just back and forth, side to side, choppy action. This is the accumulation. Now, if you guys notice what recently just happened here, we saw a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave impulse. And then we got our little correction back down. And so what we can actually see is that we've had our first impulse after this accumulation. Not only that, but we flipped this resistance level that we had been accumulating in, and so it's now acting as support. I think it's a great risk to reward entry right now. I think that this one's about to be making its leap into new all-time highs, because what's coming next is wave 3 of 3, which is going to happen quickly, guys. I love to say that because I've made so much money off of trading these Elliott waves before, and wave 3 is always the most well, I shouldn't say always the most profitable one, but it's generally, as a rule of thumb, the most profitable one. And it's where you see almost the most parabolic price action. And so I'm expecting that we're going to see a big move coming very soon. And the chart is just perfectly lining up for that. We can see that we had a massive accumulation range, almost a year period of time, and then we've actually broken from that and flipped it as support. So now that we're at this point, I think that there's pretty much just going to be a ton of new volume that floods into this market. We should see a lot of price return. We should see a lot of price discovery following suit, and this itself kind of looks like a big cup and handle. So I like this chart. You know, I've been holding this one for like a year, and so now that we're breaking out and flipping this resistance as support, I think that now is a good low risk to reward entry for people that have been kind of sitting on the sidelines, people that don't know what this is. You know, I really don't know a ton about it. It's just another one of those Yearn Finance clones. But I like the chart. I think it's solid. I've been holding for a long time. Now that we've broken out of the accumulation, I think that this one's going to set up for a big move coming. So watch out for YFII. Now, once again, you couldn't expect me to talk about all these altcoins without including Shiba Inu. Do I hold Shiba Inu? No. I do not hold Shiba Inu. But I made signals for this inside of the Discord server in which a lot of people made a lot of money off of. I was just in too many different places. Didn't feel the need to diversify profit into this. Obviously, that was a dumb mistake. But no, regardless, I know a lot of people in my Discord made money, which is my favorite thing at the end of the day. If I'm making money, that's great, but I want my Discord to make money, and which a lot of people did off of this signal. But as it stands today, guys, you know, where we're at today, we're just kind of consolidating. It could go much higher than here. I want you guys to be aware of that. It could also have a deeper correction. When a market goes this parabolic, it's so impossible to know what's going to happen to it. And so the best thing that we can do is just take profits, right? That's what I always say. Now, what I can say is it does look like we do have a clear 5 impulse waves right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the question is that wave 3? My guess is it is. I think that this was wave 1. This was wave 3. We could see a deeper correction back down. You know, I would not be the least bit surprised to see that. But regardless, the way the chart looks, it looks like we're still going to get one more impulse after. So if you're a holder of Shiba Inu, understand that we could see a little bit of a deeper correction in here. I wouldn't get too panicked personally, especially with us being this early, you know, towards the end of the year where we're seeing all these altcoins taking off, right? I think we're still relatively early compared to where the other ones are. Some of these other ones haven't even broken out yet. And so if Shiba Inu is already breaking out, you know, we could still see a little bit of a correction in here, but I think we're going to keep going up by the end of the year. I still think that there's a lot more upside still to come. And so with Shiba, at this point where it's leading the market so drastically, I still think we're going higher from here. And, you know, the Dogecoin, or the Doge Killer, I should say, chart that I shared with you, Leash, the one that we invested in a couple days ago, it's looking really undervalued. It looks like what this one did when it was down in here. And so I think that this one's going to ultimately still keep going up, along with Doge. I mean, Doge is still well below its all-time highs. If Dogecoin still has its all-time highs to break out and then price discovery to happen, I honestly think that all of these are going to just keep going up a lot higher. And so we're at this point where the market's very parabolic. You know, it's anyone's best guess where it's going to go from here. But I will say that based off of the Elliott waves, you know, I still think we have a lot higher still to come from here. So be watching out for Shiba Inu. Now, last up on today's list is going to be Pokestarter. Now, this is going to be a launchpad project for Polkadot, obviously. Now, what we're going to talk about today is just the technical perspective that I see. I love this chart. I've been buying this one since all the way back down in here. Started buying this one, and I've just been kind of dollar cost averaging throughout this dip. I ended up accumulating a little bit more over here on this initial rise up. And so for now, my bags are packed. I am holding, and I think it's still pretty undervalued in the grand scheme of things. This itself looks a lot like Skel Network. They're both just one wave impulses. And we're going to be getting wave 3 coming in here. And so I think that this one's going to go up a lot higher than what we have already. And so even though we've kind of gone up for my initial entries, we're up a little bit higher, I still think it's relatively undervalued. I mean, this itself is still just the beginning of an impulse, of an uptrend. And we've just recently, on the shorter time frames, flipped this previous high right here. So as it stands, we've left the accumulation range. We're starting higher highs and higher lows on this new trend line. We see a lot of new volume coming in here. But as it stands right now, I think that this one's still going to go up a lot higher. And we should see the next impulse take us upwards of about $5.60. Something like this, right? Get a pullback, and then we should see it keep going up from here. But with this next move coming to be the wave 3, I think it's going to happen quickly. Kind of the rule of thumb with all of these cryptos I shared on today's list is a lot of them follow the one wave impulse. I love the buy in the one wave because in wave 3 I make the most amount of my money on average, not always, but some of my most profitable trades have came by buying one waves into wave 3. This is exactly where we're at today for Pokestarter. I think a lot of these new launchpad projects are going to do well. I think Pokestarter is going to do well just based off of the Polkadot hype as a whole. With all the new parachains coming out, the auctions, and all of that fun stuff, I think we should see this one continue to do phenomenally well. So I wanted to give you guys this video as just a way to brush up on some prior analysis, talk about some cryptos I haven't talked about in a little while, talk about some setups that I think are still going to keep going up phenomenally high over the next couple months. These were my lists for today. If you found value in this list, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server or download my free ebook, links are going to be provided for you in the description for that. Now, for the people that like to join my VIP, follow all the trades that I'm taking, know exactly where I'm doing with my money, what I'm diversifying it into at the end of the year, bought some stocks, posted those in the signals, and so if you guys want to get access to all of that fun stuff, links are going to be provided for you in the description for that as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.